While we await PNB numbers, let's listen in to the Bank of Baroda management. Posted a good set of earnings, at least as far as the asset quality was concerned. Here's the management. Abhishek and I spoke to T.S. Jayakumar a little earlier.
I think the point on the slippage is when we look at it as a percentage to the receivables, the slippage ratio, this quarter has been fairly consistent with what we have seen in the earlier 3 or 4 quarters. The issue rather is around asking the question, how long will these slippages continue? I mean, there must be a point of inflection that ought to come. And when is that point of inflection? I think that really is the question. And I'm hoping over the course of the next 2 quarters, we would see that happening.
It's good to hear you say that, because with each passing day we keep getting fresh bad news, more from the financial space and less from the non-financial space. I mean, the DHFL, some of the ADAG companies, and then we have the Everready, the McNally Bharat groups. Are you sure that we have peaked off in terms of slippage numbers, and the coming quarters it will be at least less than it is now, 6,000 crores?
Yeah, so the overall position is like this. Our total watchlist asset is around 16,500 crores, of which 10,000 comes from the earlier Bank of Baroda portfolio, and the balance comes between Riddhin and the Vijay Bank portfolio. I would think a slippage ratio of about 70% of that is not quite inconsistent with prior numbers. But what we are also seeing is a fair amount of accumulation of NPA, and the work on that should start throwing up better recovery numbers. In fact, if there is anything that jarred a little bit in our performance, was the recovery numbers were lower than what we historically had, much less than what we had actually planned to. So the plan we therefore have is that there is going to be slippage and there is going to be recovery, and then there are some provisions. The net effect of it should result in the net NPA number coming down as we go through the quarters. That broadly is the theme around. The other point you may want to look at is to look at the composition of the slippages. In our case, the total slippage from the corporate account of the 6,000 crores was only 1,600 crores. So more than the big ticket transaction, it's about agriculture, some pressure on smaller ticket transaction, and we need to work through that, which is not the same way you work through the larger ticket account. So I think we're getting a plan together, and I hope we will have a fairly resilient Q2 and Q3.
Abhishek?
Sir, talking about your watch list now, that remains sticky on a standalone basis. It was at 10,000 crore even in the previous quarter for you, and it is at 10,000 crore even in this quarter. Do you think it will stop here, or there will be more stress assets added, given the fact that you have not accounted Diwan or ADAG exposure as NPL already? So how much provisions also you have on these two accounts, the HFC and the NBFC?
So let me go over the numbers with you, but as I broadly said just a little while before, the issue is not whether the slippage numbers are fairly consistent as a ratio with the prior quarters. The question is, when are we going to reach the inflection point when there will be a considerable reduction in the slippage numbers, or rather the net slippage numbers will tend towards zero. So that's where it is. As far as a watch list is concerned, as I mentioned, it includes all the accounts that you have currently mentioned. Now, with respect to the non-bank finance exposure and the others, it's not a 0-1 game. In fact, the recovery levels are likely to be much higher than what we normally see, simply because these are financial assets over which banks can take control. The ADAG exposure is also there in the number, and so I think so what I'm trying to say is the 6,500 is where we are. A slippage of 60-70% of that number is likely. There aren't any real large accounts at this point of time visible in our portfolio that could cause further increase. So that's where it is. Overall, there is. So I think the real issue for us is to focus on recovery, make that equal to the amount that is slipping, and then by keep the net slippages close to zero. And it's also going to be dependent upon the new regulations that have been on the NCLT, its effect, and the ability to see some good results with respect to the matters that are pending in the NCLT. Because about 2/3 of our portfolio is all matters that are lying in the NCLT for resolution.
Okay, there you are. It cannot be very sure of recoveries. They wanted to go aggressive on recoveries, and they're a little disappointed with that 1,200 crore they've done this year. But so much they are at the mercy of the NCLT. But the important takeaways were 10% loan growth forecast for the current year, and margins will touch 3%, he said, by the fourth quarter. That's a positive guidance. So take a break, come back, and more analysis on stocks awaits you.